All right, greetings. Welcome to Eureka Math Squared. This is grade 6, module 3, lesson 9. Okay, so this is all about taking all of these great absolute values and magnitude thoughts and putting them into practice a little bit. Okay, so I don't think we have too much to do here, and it's pretty straightforward. And if you have a number line, or something that resembles a number line or can be used as a number line, you'll be just great doing this. All right, so let's check out the first problem here. We're hanging out on page 115, and here we go. So, number one, the temperature. There's a temperature that decreases from, so it starts at 4 degrees and it drops to a negative 9 degrees. So, how many degrees did the temperature decrease? All right, how much did it go down? Well, what I want to do here is simply plot these guys right on my thermometer over here. Right, there's my little thermometer. Right, so 4 degrees. So here's my 0. 4 degrees is a positive, so it'll be probably hanging out over here somewhere. Right, so good old 4 degrees there's a start, and it drops down to negative 9, which is down here. So one way to do this is to say, hey, well, what's the distance between the 4 and the 0, right, and the 0 to that negative 9? Right, so these are my absolute values, my distance from 0. So you'd love to use that absolute value, right, scenario to deal with this. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is say, hey, what is the absolute value of 4? Right, this is this deal right here. What is that distance from between 4 and 0? Right, and clearly that's a distance of 4. Right, and we're going to take the distance from 0 to that negative 9. Right, that guy there, and that's clearly 9 as well. Right, so I'm going to show that in absolute value now. Right, and what I want is the full distance. Right, so I want to take this distance and put them together to get me this distance. Now you can see that this little guy and this larger guy here combine to give me this guy, right? So they're going to be added together. So I'm going to put a plus symbol right there. Okay, so here's the distance from 4 degrees to 0. Here's the distance from negative 9 to 0, right? And I'm going to add that deal. So absolute value of 4 is 4, right? Plus absolute value of negative 9 is 9, right? Because you can't have a negative absolute value. You can't have a negative distance. Clearly, the distance from 0 to negative 9 is 9. Notice that's a positive value. Put those together, and you get 13. So there it is. So those guys are 13 away from one another, which means that the temperature decreased by 13 degrees. Okay, so the temp, right, decreased 13 degrees, like that. Okay, and so this is what we're doing today. Next one. So during the day, the temperature increases. Now it goes up from negative 2 to 13. All right, so you know what? Maybe I'll just draw my own here. Negative 2 degrees. So that's below 0, right? A negative 2. So let's say 0 is hanging out over here. And it goes all the way up to 13 degrees. Okay, 13 degrees. Very similar to the previous problem. So I want to take the absolute value. So I want the distance from that 13 to 0, and I want to add that to the distance from the negative 2 to 0 because the temperature went up all the way. Question is how far? All right, well, clearly you can see that negative 2 is 2 units away from 0, and 13 is 13 units away from 0. And if you put those together, you get 15. Okay, but what does that look like mathematically? Well, I want that absolute value of 2, which means how far is negative 2 from 0, and I want to add the absolute value of 13, which also means the distance from 0, right? How far is 13 from 0? And I want to add those guys together. So, new problem, absolute value of negative 2 is 2. The absolute value of 13 is 13. Add those, and you get 15. Okay, so the temperature increased 15 degrees. There you go. Just like that. Okay. So far, so good. Here we go. What else we have here? Oh, a horizontal number line. Cool. So what is the distance from point D to point B? Well, Very similar, right? So I want to take that distance from 0. It's all about that 0, right? So boom, distance from 0. 0 is the key. So -3 to 0 is clearly a distance of 3. And from 0 all the way over to 8 is a distance of 8. Now, if I want the full distance from one to the other, I'm going to add those. So I want the absolute value of -3 added to that, the absolute value of 8. And I get 3 plus 8, and that gives me 11. Just like that. And I guess they want units, so units. There you go. Okay. Yeah, so if you don't know the centimeters or feet or whatever it is, just use the word units and you're fine. Okay. Which is closer to 0, a point D or a point A? Let's see. Well, here's point D and here's point A, right? So clearly point A is closer, right? So point A. Point A is closer. Well, they want a reason why. How about we use absolute value? Because its absolute value, right, which is the distance, use a little parenthesis, from 0 is 1, right? Compared to, I'm taking up a lot of space here, compared to point, what is that other one? D, right? Point D with a distance or absolute value of 3. There you go. All right, so that takes care of that. Well, last one. How's this? Explain the meaning of the absolute value of -3 being greater than the absolute value of 1. And I think I just explained it, right? So the absolute value of -3 is 3. The absolute value of 1 is 1. And that is greater than because -3 is further, right, from 0. It's all about 0, right? From 0 than 1. That's it. Okay. So that's what we're doing here, folks. We're just hanging out and answering some questions. How about one more? Why not? On a winter morning, the temperature outside of the house is, -17 degrees Fahrenheit. That's cold. The temperature inside the house is 64 degrees. Well, to me, that's still cold, but it's better than -17. How many degrees warmer is it inside of the house than outside? Oh, okay. So once again, having a nice little number line. I'll use a vertical, so temperature, right, it's usually vertical. I'll put that 0 in there. So we're in -17 land, and we go all the way up to 64 degrees, right? Little degree symbols, which means I want that absolute value, right? So I want those two distances combined. I want to add that. This distance from 0 is 64. This distance from 0 is 17. So I want to add those together. So a 64 plus a 17, right? So there you go. There's an 11, 6, 7, 8, 81 degree difference between inside of the house and outside of the house. Wow. Okay. So the difference is, oopsie, difference in temperature, right? How's that? Temperature is 81 degrees. Oops, not 80, 81. Let me get rid of that. 81 degrees. All right. And there you go. Because, right, I guess I have to explain that, right? Let's see. 64 degrees, right, is 64 units from 0, right? 0. Add to that 17 degrees, right, from 0, right? Add to that 17 degrees from 0. You get, right? The result is 81 degrees. Oopsie. Why do I keep putting 80 degrees? All right, there you go. Or if you wanted to use absolute value in your explanation, that's fine too. Okay. But what we're looking for here is the sum of both values from 0. And why? Well, the reason why we're adding them is because they're on either side of 0. And that's the key to this game, right? If they were on the same side of 0, we would actually subtract those, but not getting into that today. Right now, we're on either side of 0. All right, so that's the deal. Hope you enjoyed that, and, all right, I'm done. Take care. Math rules. See ya.